This is the first campaign event for Ria, and I'm so pleased that she's been selected again to fight this constituency. I've got to know her very well over the past few years, partly through a membership of the NEC, but also being a fantastic local community activist. And the fact that she started her speech by talking about her depression and anger and annoyance at a constituent being deported with the government failing to act shows why she's the ideal person to be the MP, because she cares about individuals and the problems that they face. Ria, thank you for what you said. And you're quite right. When Theresa May tries to depoliticise something, you know full well she's on shaky ground. So when she gets up in Parliament and invites me to join in support for Windrush Day, I am very happy to support Windrush Day. I do support Windrush Day, and I do support that whole Windrush generation and the magnificent contribution they've made to the lives of all of us in their work in transport, health, education, and the work and lives that they've dedicated to our community and our society. But I'm not the one who created a hostile atmosphere. I'm not the one that resulted in individual people from Caribbean backgrounds losing their homes, losing their jobs, becoming poor, living in poverty, or in some cases being deported. Shame on Theresa May. She should be apologising for them, not extolling them in that way. Because a society must value all of its citizens, all of its people. That's the way we defeat the scourge and cancer of racism. That's the way we keep societies and people together. The banners you see behind me here, 70 years of our NHS. Our NHS was founded originally 1945 Manifesto, 1946 National Health Service Act. And to read that act is quite amazing. First paragraph. The job of a National Health Service will be to provide healthcare through hospital provision, through doctors' provision, will be to provide for mental health provision, for social care, and to deal with the public health issues which are the causes of ill health in so many cases in the first place. Second paragraph, and it shall be free at the point of use for all citizens. Our declaration that health in 1945, 46, and then eventually when the service was set up in 1948, was an act of saying healthcare from henceforth will be a human right, not a commodity and not a privilege. We are proud of that, but it has to be defended like never before, because this government has promoted the privatisation of our National Health Service, promoted the selling off of NHS facilities, and underfunded our NHS to a catastrophic degree. And the health inequalities that Anara and Bevan recognised are sadly still there. The life expectancy difference in Scotland alone is 26 years between the richest and the poorest people. That's not right. That's just wrong at any level. And the mental health crisis that we're facing all across the UK has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with through proper funding. It has to be dealt with by ensuring that the support and counselling is there for all people going through a crisis. But it also has to be a recognition that stress in schools, stress in housing, stress in work, stress in debt does lead to mental health conditions. And talking to parents whose young children, teenagers, young people have taken their own lives across this country because of stress shows to me that we need to do an awful lot more, which is why the first thing I did on becoming leader to appoint a shadow cabinet was to appoint a shadow cabinet member level responsible for social care and mental health all across the UK. I'm determined that a Labour government coming in will ensure the improvement of the NHS all across the UK, will deal with the social care crisis and will deal with the mental health crisis and deal with the public health crisis of inequality. Free markets don't give you good health. Free markets give you inequality and injustice. So, we're working together with Scottish Labour, with Welsh Labour. We're working together all across the UK in our party to develop our policies to go into the election. The manifesto, for the many, not the few, was a brilliant document put together in a couple of 3 weeks. Amazing for the short time we had to produce it. And it transformed that election campaign. We went out and explained to people, you do not have to live in a society where your children are less well off than you are, and your grandchildren are going to be even less well off than your children. You do not have to live in a society where you look downhill for all time in the future. Instead, we tax fairly, we spend fairly and justly, we reduce inequalities, and we say to every young person, wherever you are, you've got a good future, you'll get a good education, you will be able to achieve the very best you can in your life. We will not be walking by on the other side while our fellow citizens sleep on the streets because they can find nowhere to live. I want to live in a society where homelessness has ended, where unemployment has gone, where everyone has a decent chance. You can't do it unless you have a government that intervenes, a government that invests in our future. So we will set up a National Investment Bank which will invest in all parts of the UK, including £20 billion for Scotland. We will increase revenue expenditure, which will bring £3 billion more to Scotland. We will be investing in high-tech industries of the future, in sustainable industries from the future. We won't allow deindustrialisation to go on. That is the message that Labour is giving. And what's this government doing? They've had 2 years to begin negotiating what Brexit means. And I don't blame the EU leaders sitting around for dinner last night asking Theresa May what your strategy is. And the best she can offer was that we're going to produce a white paper, a white paper after 2 years, and it's only going to be produced after she's hosted a pyjama party for the cabinet in Chequers next weekend. I don't know what's going to go on in this pyjama party. My mind boggles at the very thought of it. But really, these are very serious issues. We are determined to protect our human rights legislation, to the Universal Charter of Human Rights all across Europe. We're determined to protect our environment, our consumer rights and our workers' rights. We are not heading down the road of some cosy comfort deal with Donald Trump which will lead to damaging of our workers' rights, our investment potential and empowering global corporations over national governments. I want to be part of a society that brings fairness and justice all around. That's the way we are as the Labour Party. Think back to those people that founded our party, those brave people that stood up against the most unspeakable injustices and abuse. But they formed trade unions, they formed the Labour Party, and they had a vision of a society that cared for all. The NHS, our NHS, is something we can all be very proud of. And I'll be very proud to be at the huge rally tomorrow in London in support of our NHS and ending the privatisation of it. And on Sunday, I'll be in Nigel Van's birthplace in Tredegar, speaking about the NHS with a lot of other people. That's our symbol. That's our symbol of what we've achieved. But we're not here to rest on our laurels. We're not here just to recall our triumphs past. We're here for the future of everybody. That means we've got to campaign all the time as a party. That means you've got to get behind Rhea as your candidate to win here. We gained 6 constituencies across Scotland a year ago. I want to gain a lot more, because I want to see a Labour government with a majority. That mandate to end the housing crisis, to end the health crisis, to invest in the future for all young people. That mandate for a Labour government whose foreign policy basis will be peace, justice, environmental sustainability and human rights. A Labour government determined to play its part in world peace and world justice. A Labour government determined to bring about equality and justice here at home. We've got more than 500,000 members across the country, enthused, excited, active. Let's get out there and give it to them. So I'm ready for an election whenever they call one. but we're going to do it differently next time. Last time, I only did 100 events during the election campaign. That was just a dress rehearsal. Next time, we're going to do it really properly. More than that, in every single part of this country. Mobilise people with a vision of what is possible, not the arid nonsense of inequality, injustice, and lectures about free markets from Philip Hammond and lectures about diplomacy from Boris Johnson. Let's consign them to the dustbin of history.